Good morning. Back with another video. It's Monday morning. This week is a little bit all over the place. What have I got? So the first half of this week is kind of booked up, right? I've got like Lyfcoach stuff, Skyline stuff. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, fully booked, right? So first things first. I'm going to go to the gym this morning. We started a new job today, so I was umming and ahhing about turning up on site, but you know what? I'm going to let the guys get going, and I'll drop in tomorrow. So I'm going to go to the gym, get a workout in, and then I've got to get some Lyfcoach stuff done in the office this afternoon. It's more like the boring stuff, right? But that's today. You know, of course, that the first thing I'm going to do is coffee. So let's go get a coffee. Just home now, grabbing a bit of luncheon. I've got a Thai red curry. One of the benefits of using a meal prep service is that often the meals you get are interesting. Which, after years of eating nothing but chicken and rice, is quite nice. A company we did some work for, like we have our system where we do the work and then we produce a report and all the evidence, certificates, all that stuff. And then when we receive payment, we issue that. But like when you get working with some of these bigger companies, it doesn't work like that. They're like, no, you have to use our system. So here's another third party and you have to work with them and they have a system and you have to create a profile and go in and then you have to issue your... And it just doesn't work with our stuff. And it's part of the reason, I think, everything is so slow in the UK. When you look at things like HS2, which is, I mean, it's gone completely wrong. So HS2 is at least 9 billion to 17 billion over budget on phase one. And like going off on one about HS2, but what I'm talking about is like in the UK, we have so much compliance and government overreach and all this sort of nonsense that when you're trying to get anything done, it just becomes impossible. So, for example, this small job we've done for this big customer, and now they expect you to do X, Y, Z, and it creates so much work. And so either I do the work and charge them, or I don't do it, and I just refuse to do it. So, but like I can't do it for free. So it's all just nonsense. And then you realize there are so many companies out there and what their whole job is just like unnecessary, really. Do you know what I mean? Like they're not actually building anything or adding to the project in any meaningful way. They're just kind of like shuffling paperwork from one end to another or creating rules, which means that everyone else has to create paperwork, which they then manage, but no one really needs. It's fucking ridiculous. And it's part of the reason I'm desperate to leave the UK because I just can't deal with it anymore. We're just so inefficient. And when you're like me and you're running a company and you're trying to, essentially what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make buildings safer, right? And the government and all these companies just get in the way of it. So you're not actually achieving anything at the end of the day except for paying people's salaries. It's like when companies get too big and they have all these HR departments or the tears and tissues department, and it's just like it's a waste of everyone's time and energy. Speaking of HR, I'm in my second court case. I had one last year. I can actually talk about that one. I can't talk about the current one. I will when I get a chance. I can talk about the previous one. What happened there is I employed someone, a contractor, to do some work for me. He owned a business that did all that stuff, provided all that, and I paid him up front for a website. My mistake. Shouldn't have paid up front. But I paid him upfront for a website, which he then had basically had a mental breakdown and couldn't deliver. But then wouldn't give me my money back either. So I had to take him to court. Anyway, what happened with that is I ended up winning. Like of course, because it's not really a fight worth taking on. If you pay for something and you don't get it, well, guess what? Like you're entitled to a refund. But of course, this guy, he couldn't afford the refund, so he's been paying me, I think, like 150 quid a month for the last like year or so, and that's just going to continue until he's paid it off, plus the interest. But it just beggars belief, man. Like I find myself in these court cases where it's like, this is my second one, but all it is common sense. It's just common sense. If you say you're going to do X, then you have to do it. And if you're paid to do X, then you need to do it. I mean, the other one that I've got is it's more about theft of company property because this guy is claiming that I gifted him a laptop, and under that logic, everyone who works for me could just take a van and all the tools and be like, "Well, Merry Christmas." Part of me is like, oh, just let it go. But you know what? Like, I can't do that because if I did that with everyone, then everyone would take money out of my pocket and out of my business. This is what happens when you have something that people deem valuable. People want to come and take advantage, right? And anyone out there who runs a business will understand that because they'll have had it. You get opportunistic pricks just want to take the piss, right? And but part of me just wants to like let it go. Just fuck them. I can't waste the energy. And I've been in situations like that before, where people like wanted to rip me off, and to be honest, I've just let them because couldn't be bothered with the battle. But then it came to a point in my life where it happened so many times that I was like, okay, I have to draw a hard line here, and there's a certain thing that I won't stand for, and I have to stand up for myself and my business, and also when you're in a position like me where you run a business and you're like the boss or the leader, if you what message does that send to other people if you just let people get away with murder? And the unfortunate thing about going to court though is that you can be as confident as you want and you can have all the common sense and all the evidence, but you're not guaranteed to win. You're never guaranteed, right? Depends on the day, depends on the judge. And when I started a business and I started employing people, I wanted to provide opportunities for myself and for others. Um, I've had loads of situations where people took the piss. I've had people stealing from me, and I've had people taking money, or what's how to say, people misrepresenting themselves. I've had a lot of that, and it's just par for the course, man. But you can't allow yourself to be like kicked around. The other thing that's interesting that I've noticed is that in these situations, people will convince themselves that they're right. Let's say a work dispute. Let's say someone comes and works for you and they've got friends, you've got mutual friends. People often won't, people don't want to pick sides. People will tell you whatever you want to hear. So let's say, for example, let's say I was terrible boss and I ripped someone off and I treated them like shit. No one is going to come to me and say, "Hey, you shouldn't do that, man," because people are pussies, man. People are not direct in that way, But it works on the other side. If you're the kind of person you're in the wrong, no one's going to tell you. They're just all going to carry on pretending to be your friend. I think it comes down to courage at the end of the day. The courage to be disliked. I don't really give a shit about it, whether people like me or not. What I give a shit about doing the right thing. I care about what's right. And not just for myself, for others. I've been in situations where I've sort of acquiesced, if you like, because it's the right thing to do for me and the other people. And you got to remember, you're not just, when you own a company, you're not just making decisions for yourself, you're making decisions for everyone who's involved. I will say this: running businesses and dealing with people, hiring and firing, it can give you a dim view on people. The amount of people that come in and surprise you in a positive way and exceed your expectations and are loyal and honest and good and look after you. Those people are like, there's more of the opposite, put it that way. And I'm fortunate, right? I've had people who I've worked with, I've had people who I've fired, right? There's one guy, I won't mention him, but when I had another company, he was a bit younger, I was a bit younger, and it didn't work out. And I fired him. And it didn't, there was a little bit of an exchange of words, and it didn't end that great. And then fast forward years later, he messaged me on, I think it was Instagram, and he reached out to me and he basically said, you know what, I was a bit immature and I was too young, and I'm really sorry about what happened and blah. And do you know what, man? I was like, that is a man. That's how a man handles himself. I respected that, and I messaged him back, and we've actually since seen each other. And after, you know what, after that, I was like, you know what, I'd work with him now. Like, I'd work for him again. I actually did offer him another job, but he's doing quite well. Funny that, isn't it? The people that have that kind of attitude, they tend to do quite well. And his life seems like, he's got it under control. I think it takes a lot of bollocks to do that. We've all made mistakes, right? God knows I've made shitloads. But how you handle them moving forward says a lot about you. And then I've had a lot of people who a lot of people who came on board and they took what they could get, and then they dip. Do you know what I mean? As soon as things get hard, they dip. And it's the nature of the beast, man. Do you know what I mean? You can't take everyone with you, but you also have to understand that there are people's personalities out there, right? People fall into one of two camps. They're either a sort of they're either a radiator or a drain. People either want to like provide, or they just want to take. And I have had, unfortunately for me, I tend to attract a lot of those people that just want to take. And the two court cases that I've been involved in, they are definitely that. They are people who are only interested in what they can get. They do not want to provide. And what happens is, man, the strong carry the weak, So you get other people within the company who are very strong and they're very capable and they're great at providing. They provide value, they provide support, they provide everything you pay them for and more. And they end up carrying those people that just want to take. And it's unfortunate, man. So I've got to get better at spotting those people. What do you want to contribute? Not what are you hoping to get out of it? So anyway, rant over. I've finished my lunch. I've got to go to the office and I've got a ton of stuff to do. Sorry about the rant earlier, by the way. Hopefully I can edit it and chop it up a bit so that it makes a bit more sense. Another shift done in the office. Today was a lot of life coachy stuff. So just preparing. So we send out emails on a Tuesday, and we actually got some feedback from people who are using the app. I'll go into all of this in Founders Field Notes on Wednesday. But so I was going through a load of stuff, had a big to-do list there, and then a load of Skyline stuff. There's always Skyline stuff to do. And I'm actually finished a bit early because I kind of just rattled through it. I was going to start hitting the phones, but I think it's a bit late in the day to be calling people. and I've got all day tomorrow on Skyline stuff. So I'll do all that then. I've got a meeting first thing in the morning. That's life coach related. That's at 9, and then I've got I'm going to go check in on the boys. They're on a job. I'll take you with me for that. But do you know what? I've also got to charge up my bike, get one of my bikes on charge, and because it's been sitting for a while and I need to run it. So there's like that little stuff to do. I've also got to chase one of the guys from Windsor Classics to see if I can get my Land Rover in, because I think it's got a solenoid problem. It's just being a bit funny when it's starting. So hopefully I can get that done this week as well. What's going on? So it's what day is it? Tuesday? Yeah, Tuesday morning. Already had a meeting this morning, an early one, and then I'm heading out to site now. So I'm heading out to a local site that we've got going on. The boys started there yesterday, and I thought I'd drop in, say hello, check everyone's all right, and check the project's going all right and everything's in hand. That's it. Let's go. So I have had the question before, like, what is fire stopping? And because it's something that not a lot of people have heard of. So I'm on a job now. I thought I'd show you a little bit of it that the boys have installed. So what it basically does is it stops the spread of fire from one area to another. So we tend to work in a lot of buildings of multiple occupation or blocks of flats, that sort of thing. And I'll show you an example of some fire stopping, like here. Like here. Yeah, so basically, because we're in an underground car park, it's a high risk area, right? Because fires can break out, like if a car were to like catch on fire, and that could obviously smoke and fire can travel up from like this car park here up into the apartments and flats. So it's really important that there's compartmentation there. So and what you just saw, those installations, it's basically where penetrations or pipes and cables and that kind of stuff travels from upstairs to the underground car park. You know, that needs to have good fireproofing around it so that if there were a fire, nothing could travel up. And obviously everything we install is tested to be able to withstand fire and smoke for up to 90 minutes in some instances. But there's lots of technical stuff where you get into where, like, with compartmentation line drawings and architect spec and all of this kind of stuff. So it's way more complicated than that. But essentially, that's what we do. We stop fire from being able to travel from one area to another, and by closing gaps, essentially. Anyway, so site visit done. It's been a busy morning. So I had like a meeting and then site visit just done. I'm going to have to go and grab these boys some materials tomorrow from Slough and drop them off in the morning. And now I'm going to head home for some lunch, but I think I'm going to stop for a nice coffee on the way because there's a little spot that does a decent coffee. All right, let's go. So my afternoon got kind of hijacked. I said in the last bit, in the last clip, but I was essentially sent to go grab some supplies because the guys are a bit short on material. And so I headed over to one of our suppliers, which is by Heathrow, and grabbed some material for them. Actually, I can't reverse in because if I reverse in, they won't be able to get it out. So I headed over to Heathrow to grab some material. To be fair, it's the first time I've put anything in this car, and it didn't go well. It's you'd think that the load area in this car, considering how big this thing feels, would be pretty substantial, but I'll show you what I mean in a second. Anyway, I flew over there. Didn't really mind, to be honest. Yeah, and all I had to do was all I was going to end up doing this afternoon was kind of housework stuff, which I absolutely fucking hate. Anyone who knows me knows how much I hate doing that shit. So it wasn't too bad. I just put an audiobook on, and I made a couple of phone calls on the way. Let me show you what I mean by the back. 10 sheets of slab. That is not an efficient use of space, is it? Like, these things, I can't remember exactly how long they are. But anyway, it's just not ideal. Okay. I'll run those over to the guys in the morning, or they can come and pick it up from here, chuck it in their vans. I keep thinking I'm a day ahead as well. I keep thinking it's Wednesday, even though it's Tuesday. So I keep forgetting that I've got an extra day. So I'm trying to figure out if there's any jiu-jitsu class I can make it to, because I haven't done any jiu-jitsu this week. So I'm in now, in for the afternoon, just boring bits, housework. I edit these videos as I go as well, so I'll upload what I've shot today. And then tomorrow is going to train in the morning, office in the mid-morning, afternoon. So yeah, I didn't get any footage of Wednesday's activities because it was just super boring. Office, phone calls, just all work stuff. Nothing to see there. A bit of training. I think there was training. Yeah, there was training, but you guys know how I feel about filming in the gym. However, Thursday, tomorrow, I'm taking the day off, which I haven't done in ages. My girlfriend and I are going to take a trip out to the Cotswolds. There's a couple of nice coffee places I want to check out. And essentially no real plans. Just going to spend some downtime with my girlfriend, leave the phone alone, and, try and unwind a bit, right? Because I'll be honest, work has been crazy, money has been tight, and we haven't spent much time doing anything together. I haven't had a meal out in ages or any of that. So I'm going to take a fast in the morning, and I'm going to have brunch out. So I'll take the camera, and you guys can come along for a bit of it.